time for us to come together. Time for us to come together around this good man and re-electing Republican majorities in the House and the Senate, because this is no ordinary time.
Republican vice presidential candidate Mike Pence today saying it's time for Republicans to unite, and that is what is happening at the convention in Cleveland. But the question is, will reluctant Republicans around the country follow the example that will be set at the convention? For more on all this, let's welcome in my old colleague from Capitol Hill, Congressman Peter King of New York, member of the House Committee on Homeland Security, in fact, the former chairman of that committee, and he's also a member of the Intelligence Committee, and he's quite an intelligent guy who joins us now from the convention in Cleveland. Hey, Pete, it's great to have you here again on Newsmax Prime.
JD, always great to be with you. In fact, when I'm talking to you, I feel like I'm back home. You and I are in Congress together. Anyway, great to talk to you.
Those were good days. And more recent history, there was no secret. Earlier in this process, you were looking at running for the presidential nomination. You decided not to in the final analysis. And early on, you were not exactly on the Trump train, but that has changed. Tell me why things changed and now you're all in for Donald Trump.
Yeah, first of all, I did have some, differences with Donald Trump on a number of issues. Some of them were serious differences, but the fact is he won the nomination. He won 37 states, and to me, there's a certain degree of not just party loyalty, but a obligation you have to support the nominee of your party, unless there's some overriding reason not to. So you start off with that. Out of party loyalty, I feel I'm obligated to support the nominee of the party. But let's get down to more basics than that, which goes above party loyalty. When it comes down to a choice between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, to me, there's really, there is no choice. You take Supreme Court nominations, if you take national defense, you take fighting Islamist jihadism, if you talk about defending our police and standing up for law and order, Donald Trump is clearly the person that we need. Now, there's other issues we may have differences on, but again, when you're talking about fighting Islamic jihad, when you're talking about making sure that America is not pushed around, that people like Putin and also the government in China are not going to be able to make inroads against the United States and our interests, Donald Trump is to me, is clearly superior to Hillary Clinton. And also at Supreme Court nominations, JD, you and I know people can break their backs in Congress getting bills passed, and if you get a bad Supreme Court, they can undo that under the guise of a constitutional decision, which is actually a usurpation of power. But again, if there's 5 liberal judges, you're out of luck, and we're out of luck.
Hey, Pete, another of our former colleagues on Capitol Hill, now Governor Mike Pence, got the nod as Mr. Trump's number 2. What about the selection of Mike Pence? Does that help Republican unity?
It does, and I think it helps more with Donald Trump running that maybe with any other candidate, because in many ways their personalities are so opposite. And I mean that in a very complimentary way, in that, as you know, Mike Pence is extremely thoughtful. He thinks everything through. He's not a person like Donald Trump who's out front or raising the flag. And I think what he's going to be is a calming influence on the ticket. And I think the two of them really, Trump represents the best of his type of dynamism. Mike Pence represents the best of really that thoughtful conservatism. And you and I know him. I don't know anyone in the Congress, and even though Mike had a very definite conservative record, I don't know anyone who disliked Mike Pence. And I think that when I hear Hillary Clinton and the Democrats talk about what a dangerous person Mike Pence is, I hope they keep saying that. Because when the American people see him on television during the convention, when they see him during the debates, if you want to compare Mike Pence to Elizabeth Warren, who would the American people feel more comfortable with? Just using one example. Well, for that matter, Mike Pence versus Hillary Clinton. Mike Pence is a solid person. What I've heard from several people is that when the vetting was done on Mike Pence, people couldn't believe how the fact this guy was so popular, so well liked, and really is the type of person you want in public life. So no, I think it's a great choice.
We're going to get to Hillary in just a second, but I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about another one of our former colleagues, and that's former Speaker Newt Gingrich. A lot of speculation that Donald might pick Newt. He did not. Do you think that Newt may end up in the Trump cabinet if Mr. Trump is elected in November?
Yeah, I think that certainly could be the case. I'm not privy to any of that, but I've certainly heard that Newt is very high on Donald Trump's popularity list. Now, to be honest with you, JD, I don't think Newt would have been a good candidate for vice president. I don't think Newt would ever be a good candidate to be the second guy because Newt has so many independent ideas of his own. We could end up having debates during the campaign between Donald Trump and Newt Gingrich. But as far as a cabinet official, yeah, I think he'd be very qualified. He's extremely, as you know, he's intelligent. Sometimes he has maybe too many ideas. They sort of go over each other. But I think in a strong executive and Newt Gingrich working as a cabinet officer, yeah, he could be very, very imaginative. And imaginative in the best sense of the word, especially if we're talking about inner cities, if we're talking about even foreign policy. Again, Newt is very smart. I had differences with Newt over the years. Never questioned his intelligence. Never questioned his basic integrity. Just I think there's certain roles that he's better suited for. I don't think vice president would have been good, but certainly a cabinet position, yes.
Now, we mentioned Hillary, and she took her criticism of Mr. Trump up a notch during an interview with Charlie Rose. Hillary actually calling Donald Trump, quote, the most dangerous man to ever run for president. Let's look and listen to what she had to say, then we'll get your reaction.
Let's return to torture. And you know what? I will order the American military to commit war crimes. What he has laid out is the most dangerous, reckless approach to being president than I think we've ever seen.
The most dangerous man ever to run for president of the United States.
Yeah, so there's Charlie Rose kind of echoing what Hillary had to say. Your reaction, Pete?
First of all, it's totally ridiculous. And if you're talking about waterboarding, I don't consider waterboarding to be torture. And I also believe that in time of war, whether it's World War II or whatever, American presidents may have more leeway. I don't consider that torture. And for her to be accusing him of that, or of the military wanting to do it, absolutely wrong. Listen, fact is, under her leadership or lack of leadership at the State Department, we saw what happened in Libya. We've seen what's happened in Afghanistan and Syria. So even though Syria came a bit after her, the fact is she's identified with the policies of the Obama administration, which have been disaster in Libya, in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. Now we see what's happening in Turkey. So for her to say that Donald Trump is the most dangerous person, I think he's dangerous to her being elected. But as far as the American people, that's the type of leadership they want. The last person the Democrats called the most dangerous man ever to run for president of the United States was Ronald Reagan. And again, he was very dangerous to the Soviet Union, very dangerous to the Soviet Empire, and also very dangerous to Democrats.
Pete, you mentioned what transpired in Turkey. Earlier today, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest offered some comments about that attempted coup. Let's look and listen, then I'll ask for your reaction.
The president pledged his any needed assistance to the Turkish government as they conduct an investigation to determine exactly what happened. The president's expectation is that people in Turkey want to see a full investigation and accountability for those who are complicit.
Is that our role, to get involved in a whodunit to help Erdogan?
Yeah, I think listen, Turkey is an ally, which I'm not crazy about Erdogan at all. We need them as allies. They need us, but we should not be involved in their internal affairs in any way. We can negotiate and talk with Erdogan as far as bilateral military relationships and economic relationships, but as far as what's happening internally, no, we should not be involved there at all.
Only about a minute left, and I want to ask you one other thing going on. As you know, Turkey has formally asked our nation to extradite a Muslim cleric who's currently living in Pennsylvania. Erdogan blames him, saying he's part of the failed coup. Should our government give that Muslim cleric refugee status to avoid any type of extradition?
JD, we have to see all the facts, but whatever we do, if it is going to be any type of extradition, it has to go fully through the court process. We cannot be giving it to any kind of blackmail from Erdogan that we can't use the airbase unless we give him back. If they have a case to make, let them try to make it in court. And again, depending on what all the details are as far as refugee status, I would have to see what the details are. I really don't know enough about it, other than I have no great love for Erdogan, but I think out of necessity we have to have a relationship with them, but we can't be sacrificing our principles in doing it.
Understandable. Turkey, of course, a key ally in NATO, and we do have to step carefully. Peter King, with considerable foreign policy experience and bona fides as a member of the Intelligence Committee and, of course, also, as I guess we'd say, the chairman emeritus of the Homeland Security Committee. Pete, we really appreciate your time tonight from the convention.
JD, it's always great being with you. You're the best. Take care of yourself now.
And now this programming reminder, Newsmax TV is your home for GOP convention coverage. Tomorrow night and Thursday night, we will have full coverage of the convention in Cleveland. Ed Berliner gets us started at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then at 8 Eastern, I'll be here at the anchor desk to take over the convention coverage till midnight. In the East, we will have the acceptance speeches from Donald Trump and Mike Pence and the comments of Steve Malzberg, Dennis Michael Lynch, and other special guests. So, for the best and in-depth coverage of the GOP convention, be with us tomorrow night and Thursday night, starting at 7 Eastern, right here.